The effect of Brexit on immigration. Part 2. The second part of my rationale was that the spike was mainly caused by the economic conditions created by the pandemic and lockdowns. If we're saying Brexit was a cause, then there is no way COVID wasn't one. This was a global emergency with disruption and costs not previously seen in living memory. Its immediate legacy was inflation. In the post-COVID period, Johnson weakened in the face of the corporate lobby and was persuaded that a skills shortage would worsen the already rampant price rises. He thus acted to compensate for the comparatively low numbers of 2020 and let significantly more in for the rest of his tenure. Despite taking some measures, Sunak didn't do much to stop it. The revelation of 906,000 having come in the year ending June 2023 was surely one of the reasons the useless PM lost the election. Johnson has since labelled the notion there was a spike as complete bollocks.
The whole thing is complete bollocks.
Citing the excuses of returning foreign students, who had delayed their courses owing to COVID, Hong Kongers, refugees from the Ukraine war, and Afghans fleeing the Taliban. He was speaking in an interview with Trigonometry in March 2025. Let's break down why this, in fact, is the bollocks. We don't know how many students delayed their course, but a check on the AI tells you around 460,000 international students were in the country in 2020. At most, 40% are reckoned to have experienced disruption, which could have included postponement of their studies. This makes only 184,000, or 15%, out of 1.2 million migrants gross admitted in 2022. This is a very rough figure, and the number of students attending delayed courses may have been much lower. The rest of my figures come from official Home Office summaries. Taking Ukrainian refugees, 248,843 came in 2022. There were around 50,000 Hong Kongers, 105,200 between January 2021 and December 2022. Afghans that came through the official resettlement schemes made up 4,629, and there were 10,011 Afghan asylum applications. Altogether, Johnson's excuses appear to account for just 41%, 497,483, of the 2022 Boris Wave. A calculation by The Spectator finds that the resettlement schemes for Ukraine, Syria and Afghanistan, not including asylum claims from the last two, make up only 15% of net immigration in the 3 years since 2022. Although the numbers from Ukraine, Hong Kong and so on were used by Johnson to reinforce his point, the crux of his argument was that he had to respond to the staffing shortfall brought on by COVID. He admitted that he deferred to the Migration Advisory Council, MAC, a quango attached to the Home Office which advises on skills gaps that need to be filled by migrant labour. Johnson even tried to shift some of the blame onto them.
What also happened, and this was not, government policy, but it was something that was driven by the Migration Advisory Committee, you had a panic, if you remember, post-COVID, when nobody could get the shelf. Do you remember this? There was a thing that nobody could get the shelves stacked. Do you remember leading up to the period when nobody was confident that the crops were going to be picked in the fields?
Then the Home Office was blamed.
And so, yes, I think they probably did hand out too many visas or too many permits for people.
A bad workman blames his tools. This deflection was even more blatant in an earlier interview with The Sun in October 2024.
The Migration Advisory Committee said, well, we needed a lot of people to help with social care, we needed a lot of stack shelves and all things. We need to keep inflation.
They've never knowingly told shut the borders those guys do that.
Now, of course, those decisions, in hindsight, we've learned, we can say, well, we got it wrong, or the MAC got it wrong, or I got it. I did actually authorise those decisions. They were taken by.
So you
others.
meant
the Prime Minister wasn't authorising major decisions. That's quite an indictment, isn't it? Of course, he may have greenlit whatever they said, because really he's a metro lib pretending to be a populist. Either he bought into their scaremongering, arguments, or he always believed immigration needed to rise, or he didn't pay any attention when it came across his desk. However you explain it, it's a calamity. An inconsistency in Johnson's story is that the government ignored the MAC when it said care workers should get a pay rise. Clearly, it is not some all-powerful group which must be obeyed.